Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And as the voice of God, who is really my good friend Jared, just said, I'm Marie, and I'm the literary director of the Library of Congress. It's a joy to see you here tonight. Welcome to the National Book Festival Presents series, which is an exciting new series of programs inspired by the National Book Festival and meant to bring you into the heart of this historic and dynamic institution. The National Book Festival series is a brand new effort through which we hope to inspire and engage and entertain you with some of the most diverse, provocative, and interesting writers of the day. How many of you are here in the library for the first time tonight? Oh my, quite a few. Welcome. Welcome to all of you. And how many of you have attended our flagship event, the National Book Festival? Oh, rather more of you. Wonderful. Great to have you back. And how many of you have already attended something in this series, the National Book Festival series? Oh, terrific. Well, we tend to make, we want to make more of those, so please, next time, invite your friends. In every program we put before you, say from the children's writer Dave Pilkey to the preeminent historian of religion, Karen Armstrong, to the author you're going to hear from tonight, we mean to connect the works of living writers to a larger history, a deeper place, and we delight in making those connections for you. We like sparking conversations that connect us in meaningful ways. We think that's what a library, that's what your library should do. So thank you for being with us here to help us carry this mission forward. Tonight is the last program in our fall series, but we'll start up again in the new year, so please keep an eye out for our announcements. And please do fill out our survey, which you will receive or be able to pick up on your way out this evening. We pay attention to your comments, we value your comments, and we want you to be full partners in the development of this series as we go forward. So I hope you take a moment to familiarize yourself with this splendid library. It's the largest cultural institution in the world. It's known as the most beautiful public space in Washington, D.C., if not the country. If you haven't seen the Great Hall or the main reading room or the other impressive halls in this building, please make a point to walk around. But to cut to the task at hand, I'm thrilled to be standing here to introduce a writer whose work I have admired for a very long time. André Aciman was born in Alexandria, Egypt, where he grew up in a Sephardic family, speaking French and attending British schools. By 14, he was living in Rome and Paris, having emigrated west with his family. He arrived in New York in late adolescence, attended Lehman College, studied comparative literature at Harvard, and went on to teach literary theory and the works of Marcel Proust at Princeton, Bard, New York University, and the City University of New York. He has produced a rich body of work ranging from memoir to scholarly essays about literature to novels and short fiction. He became known in literary circles with his elegant, beguiling memoir of the vanished world of his childhood, Out of Egypt. But he was shot to stardom with his novel Call Me By Your Name, published in 2007 and made into an Academy Award-winning movie 10 years later. The book he just launched last week, Find Me, the sequel to that novel, will debut at number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list this coming Sunday. Joining him in interview is our very own Roswell Encina, Chief of Communications for the Library of Congress. They have met on this stage before to talk about Call Me By Your Name, and I'm thrilled to say, in true sequel fashion, they meet again here tonight. Please welcome André Aciman and Roswell Encina.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Library of Congress, and welcome back, Andre, to the library.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much
me.
for being here. So I have to say, though, the last time you were here, we were talking about the popularity of the movie and the popularity of the book, and I had to ask you, were you going to write a sequel, or was there going to be a sequel to the movie? And this is what you said.
The sequel is going to be a bit of a problem because you're going to have to bring in novel information. And that makes me a bit nervous because it might be distracting from what is actually the story itself, so that the story might move elsewhere. And we don't know where that might be. And we still don't know that there is going to be a sequel. What is he talking about? That's not me.
So what happened? Where did the sequel come about?
I decided to just do it and to come up and just say that it wasn't a sequel, it was more a book inspired from Call Me By Your Name. So you have the same characters, they're much older, and so it doesn't continue the story, it just fills in the gaps that were left wide open when the book came out in 2007.
So like many of the Call Me By Your Name fans, I'm a big fan of that book, clearly, and I think everybody who's a fan of the original book feels like it's very precious, and we feel like we know everything about it, and we think we know what should happen to Ilio and to what should happen to Oliver. What response were you getting from fans of what should happen to these two characters?
Oh God, I at some point I had to tell people, please stop writing to me fan fiction, because if I go on writing this story with these characters, and I accidentally borrow something you said, you'll not be happy with me. So I cannot read the movie scripts that people send me, the long sort of chapters that people have sent me. I say I cannot read it because I don't want to be influenced in case I go on with the story.
So as you can see, as a good library staff member, I'm a good tabber of books. And I should say, though, as you mentioned, this is really inspired from the first book. It's a standalone book as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I think it is, yes.
There's a lot of, there's Call Me By Your Name sprinkled all over it, but I feel like you could read it without even reading the first book. There's a lot of beautiful passages. I feel like it's so well written, you want to read some of these passages out loud or underline everything, or as what clearly that's what I've done.
I just can see this. It makes me very nervous. Why is somebody underlining my book?
How daunting was it to write this book?
It wasn't daunting once I decided, okay, let's face it, this man is Elio's father. What is he going to do? He's going to meet Elio. Elio is going to appear, not at the beginning as I always tried to do, because I did try quite a few times with Elio showing up at the beginning, and it became like son of Call Me By Your Name. And I didn't want to do that. So eventually, once I made my peace with that, it was just very smooth sailing.
So you mentioned Ilio's dad.
Yes.
In the first book, he's part of the book, and he has that big speech at the end,
Right.
but that's his big thing. Why did you decide to give him a bigger part in this book?
First of all, I think if he gives that speech, which people find very, very moving. If a father can give that speech, he must have an amazing background, have a past that suggests that this is not just a speech that happens. It comes from a long lineage of ideas and of a temperament as well. So I wanted to investigate it. I was interested in who this father is and what is his life like. And if he is with his wife, I thought, that happened to me. If he is with his wife, then you won't see how interesting he can be unless he's a standalone character. He's single, he's in a train, he meets this woman on a train, and I wanted to see what happens.
It really humanized him too. I think in the first book, he was happy, he seemed perfect.
Well, in the film, he's very happy, like this ecstatic man who loves his wife, loves his son, loves his family. His life is wonderful. I wanted to give him a few more shades of problems.
We saw a lot of it, actually.
Yeah.
So in the first book, it was you wrote it from Ilio's point of view.
Yes.
This time, we hear it from different people.
Yes.
We hear it from Samuels, we hear it from Oliver. I remember you saying, and I know you've mentioned it in several interviews, people have been asking you, why don't you write it in Oliver's point of view, and
Oh.
your response always has been, he's too cocky, too confident to write his own book.
Yeah.
So,
Why did I do that?
Yes.
There are two reasons. One is Oliver is now 44 years old. So it's 20 years after they separate. So he's now a more insecure person. He's not totally insecure, but he does say things like, I used to have fun sort of barging into people's lives. Now they won't even welcome me. So he's kind of saying, what happened? Well, you got old. That's what happened.
he does seem less confident and
Yes,
very
he's-
conflicted,
Yeah,
actually.
he's conflicted and he's less confident. But the other reason, which is more material, is that I don't know how to write in the third person. I can only write in the first person. So I made him a first person kind of character with all, and of course when you have a first person narrator, it's the insecurities are immediately attendant on that character. So you can't have a first person character who's cocky and self-confident. He becomes a ridiculous character.
How was it writing it? Was it, because some of the parts, they're written differently, even the punctuations, the voices are different. Was that hard for you?
There is more dialogue in this book, far more dialogue. And people say, there's dialogue in this book. I said, well, because the other dialogue is happening in Elio's head. And now people are actually talking to each other. And somebody said to me that it feels like a movie script. In other words, the dialogue on the train, for example, it goes back and forth, back and forth. It's almost like stage directions are missing. But by and large, it was not difficult to do. It is a different book, and I think every chapter, even though it's written in the first person, they're different first chapters.
Oliver seems to be very haunted,
Yes.
at least from my point of view, during his chapter. And I want to read one part that kind of completely reflects that. You wrote, "You fool, it takes two of them to make one of me. I can be a man and woman, or both, because you've been both to me. Find me, Oliver, find me." So it feels like his entire time, Oliver was just completely haunted by Elio, while Elio felt more confident or more grown up. Was that deliberate to make them more,
Yes,
the
yes.
contrast different?
In other words, Elio, basically it's all telepathic, almost telepathic. I don't believe in telepathy, but it's as if he's imagining having this conversation with Elio. And it turns out that Elio is totally confident, saying, what are you waiting for? Come on, come and see me, find me, which is the title of the book, okay, in case you didn't know. But he's a totally different character. And so who is the passive person of the two now? It's Oliver, who's kind of trapped in this marriage. He has two sons who are now in school, so he doesn't see them. So he's basically freeing himself, and he doesn't realize it.
And you took us out of the familiar. I think many of us wanted to go back to that house by the sea
yeah.
with a rustic gate and with the peach trees all over, but you brought us somewhere else. You brought us to Rome. You brought us to France. You brought us to New York. Why the change of scenery?
Because-
I'm not trying to give anything away, too, by the way, if you haven't read.
Yeah, because you haven't given the fourth city.
Yes.
Okay, good. No, it's just that I want it to be. When you write a book, you want to experience the book. You want to live it also, even though you're writing and you have no idea how you're going to live this. But I wanted to be in Rome because I adore Rome, and I lived in Rome for a long time. And I love Paris too, and I love Paris. And if you notice, all the stories take place in November. So that is sort of and November is a weird month if you think about it, especially, when else does Indian summer occur? October, November. What is November? Is it winter? Nah, not really. Is it fall? Not really. It's always in between the two, and I love everything that's in between two opposites. So I put everything in November, but I love the Upper West Side. I love Paris. By the way, I'm writing about Paris, and for those of you who say, give us more details of Paris, and I haven't decided yet if the story is taking place on the West Bank or on the left bank. No, East Bank, and no, what am I saying? Left bank and right bank, okay? I haven't decided. I'm totally confused. So I left it vague. You decide. What's the name of the church? I don't know. It has a U in it, and leave it at that.
So I like that you mentioned that they were all in November. I wish it was unseasonably warm Novembers in the book, and I wish it was unseasonably warm outside right now.
Well, it's already sort of past the 10th of November, but I love Indian summers because it is undefined. It is like this extra surplus of summer in the middle of sort of arriving winter.
One of the biggest components of the book are these things called vigils. Ilio's dad introduces us to vigils, that he goes to certain places and he remembers things or relives stuff. And I know, why did you decide to do that? And I know you wanted to read a passage when it comes to vigils.
Shall I explain vigils first?
Absolutely.
Vigils are, for those of you who know, in old cities, especially around the Mediterranean, you have a lot of little corners in the old part of the city where you will have a corner and then there's going to be a little shrine to a saint or to the Virgin usually, and there's a little candle or there's a lamp. And people pass by, they stop for a second, they do the sign of the cross, or they make a wish, or they think of the dead, or whatever, and then they go on. And that's a vigil, that's called a vigil. The father, Elio's father, has this habit of going to certain places that he has visited, or that he has lived in the past, or that he is attached to. And so he goes back to those places. We all do, and we all go back to places. I mean, the typical example is those of you who are sick enough to go back to your second grade classroom. How many of you have done that? Embarrassing, you know, you don't want to admit that you've done that. But you go back to that classroom because a part of you has been left back there, and you're trying to retrieve it or to communicate with it. And it doesn't succeed, but the hope of doing so is enough to make it a wish that needs to be fulfilled. And so not only has the father done that, he's gone there the day before he meets his son Elio, and he's gone to one of his apartment buildings and with his new girlfriend, Miranda, and he shows her where he used to live, and she is very nicely takes pictures of him there. And he's also taught his son to do the same thing. So the son is also into vigils, and I was going to read a passage about vigils because you will all recognize the passage. It is Elio who is now walking with Miranda and with his father, and it's the father narrating. Don't forget that this is the father, it's not Elio. When we reached Via della Pace, I thought Elio was about to take us to one of my favorite churches in the area. Instead, no sooner had we sighted the church than he made a right turn and took us to Via Santa Maria dell'Anima. Then, after a few steps, and just as I'd done with Miranda the day before, he stopped at a corner where a very old lamp was built into a wall. I never told you this, but I was drunk out of my mind one night. I had just vomited by the statue of the Pasquino and couldn't have been more dazed in my life. Yet here, as I leaned against this very wall, I knew, drunk as I was, that this, with Oliver holding me, was my life. That everything that had come beforehand with others was not even a rough sketch or the shadow of a draft of what was happening to me. And now, 10 years later, when I look at this wall under this old street lamp, I am back with him, and I swear to you, nothing has changed. In 30, 40, 50 years, I will feel no differently. I have met many women and more men in my life, but what is watermarked on this very wall overshadows everyone I've known. When I come to be here, I can be alone or with people, with you for instance, but I am always with him. If I stood for an hour staring at this wall, I'd be with him for an hour. If I spoke to this wall, it would speak back. So,
That's lovely.
this is the spirit of vigils. Thank you. Thank you.
So, I also felt like the book was like a vigil through the Call Me By Your Name story.
Yes.
From the wall to certain pieces of music. I think readers of the first book, memories of the first one will instantly pop in. Was that intentional? So it feels like the reader is going through a vigil.
Yes, I wanted the reader to feel, especially with this passage, oh, I know this, I know what happened. This was one of the most touching moments in the novel, and I wanted to re-evoke it, and to re-evoke it, to bring it back to life, to say, hey, it's not gone, it's still germane.
And it was very subtle, I should say, when you bring up passages, or at least not passages, moments from the first book. So it felt like you were part of the story, but not giving it away.
No, I didn't want to sort of make it into a message. He's remembering something here. No, no, it was more like, it was as subtle as I know how to be.
So the book also makes use of three themes, I think, that you could see throughout the book: time, music, and fatherhood. Let's go through them one by one.
Okay.
Time. I feel like, and it defines time differently, from life's second act to retracing life, regrets, a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. And there's one line here that's my favorite. It's on page 83. I kind of typed it up so I wouldn't be struggling to look for it in the book. It says, "Lobbies never age. We don't either," I thought. "Oh, but we do age. We don't grow up." So I feel like it's the entire theme of the book, at least for each one of them. Time affects them.
Yes. Can I get the book?
Absolutely. It's yours.
No, it's yours actually, but let me just read it. May I?
Sure.
I don't want. I promise it's not going to be long. This is the father of Miranda, who is a man about to. He's confronting death because he knows he's condemned. He's going to die, and so he's thinking about life and time and all those weird subjects. He says, "Some lives wait their turn because they haven't been lived, while others die before they've lived out their time, and some are waiting to be relived because they haven't been lived enough." Basically, we don't know how to think of time, because time doesn't really understand time the way we do, because time couldn't care less what we think of time, because time is just a wobbly, unreliable metaphor for how we think about life. Because ultimately, it isn't time that is wrong for us, or we for time. It may be life itself that is wrong. I mean, I'm not condemning life. I'm a man who likes lasagna too. But it's just a sense that this person who's about to die says, time is all wrong. Well, I could live another lifetime. And therefore, you, my daughter, please live out my life, because I'm not done.
Because I feel like they're all looking at time differently. Maybe Ilio's dad, Samuel, and Oliver, and even Michelle are all looking at it, I hate to say it, like in a midlife crisis kind of point of view, while Oliver and Miranda are looking at it differently.
Elio, you mean?
Elio, I mean,
yes. Yes, there is that. I mean, there's a moment in which they inherit, and this might tie us into the music. Michel, who is the lover of Elio, has inherited from his father a musical score, which the father received from an older tutor of his, and there might have been a relationship between the two. And so this score is going to be played by Elio when he tours the United States and possibly revisits Oliver. So that you have 4 generations, each one sort of tugged alongside or on top of the other. But I think this is what life is. There's always lineage and legacy, or what they say about, what do they call tomatoes? They call, there's heritage tomatoes, is it? What is it? Heirloom tomatoes, yeah, sorry, heritage, heirloom, whatever, it's the same word. I like heirloom tomatoes, okay? But the point is that nothing is in and of itself by itself. Everything is contiguous to everything else and sort of passes itself on to the next generation.
You brought up music. So music plays a major part of this book. Even the titles of each part are music-based. Did you shape this book similar to musical structures?
Someone told me this feels like a sonata. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. If that's how you want to see it, it's okay. Thank you for telling me, because I hadn't thought of it that way. But it is very interested or committed to the idea of music, especially classical music, because there's something about classical music that is basically fantastic. And not only is it the best thing that I believe was ever committed to paper on this planet, except for the King James version, which I happen to like as a work of literature. But a quartet by Beethoven is sort of challenges creation, as it were. But I think that classical music for me is something that brings out the best in us and reminds us, when we are really lucky, when we hear fantastic music, that I wish I were like this. Oh, this makes me think of who I could be if I only allowed myself or knew how to be. And so it is a way, classical music is an encouragement to reach the very best in us. It has nothing to do with ethics, by the way. It doesn't mean that you have to do good deeds to become a better person. It's just the better self that you know you have and you don't know how to access. So that's what it is. And so in many respects, I think each person has a lover who brings out the best in them. So for me, the musical metaphor is exactly sort of sits alongside the love stories, because each one feels, and I believe it's true, that when you're in love with someone, what you really are in love with, without being narcissistic, is who the person makes you think you are. I love being in love with someone who makes me love who I am, as opposed to somebody who belittles me and makes me feel like, you know what. No, I mean, it makes a big difference. And I think that this is what classical music does for me. It's a presence of excellence in the world.
You made it very sexy, I should say, especially the Ilio portion when it came to classical music. Are you a trained musician? Do you have any interest in classical music beyond writing about it? Did you grow up listening to it?
I grew up listening to it, but I cannot read a single note of music. I know nothing about, I mean, I listen to it all the time and I know it. And I can talk about it sometimes. And people are always surprised that, oh, he seems to understand what this is, but he can't read a single note. But it's okay. I love it, but I love it as I love many things, as a stranger, not as an inhabitant. I'm always alien to many, many things. But I understand it.
You talked about Michel's father. There's that big mystery there. I don't want to give it away. Okay. What was the inspiration of that sheet music that he shared with Ilio?
All right, that gets passed on.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be very brief and have patience. Okay. It's a piece. It's a score, but it's not just a musical score. It's just a cadenza, which is the moment that, in every piano concerto by Mozart, especially a violin concerto by Mozart, Mozart just felt, let's leave the performer, let him have his time and show us how he can play. I won't even write the cadenza, let him compose it or improvise it. And this is a cadenza that has been improvised. And Elio looks at the cadenza because Michel gives it to him, and he looks at this and it feels like bad Mozart. And he's almost made up his mind, say, oh, there's even some Beethoven in it because I recognize the Waldstein in there. This is a mess. And then suddenly he has this illumination. Again, you have layers, always layers. He has illumination, he realizes, oh my God, this is a Jewish prayer that has been snuck into this cadenza and is completely concealed. And of course it makes perfect sense because the paper is very cheap. The cadenza has been written sort of almost cloyingly compact. It's probably composed in the camps, and the man who composed it died in the camps, beaten up to death. And so, again, this in music, yes, it plays a role, but I wanted, again, everything in the story, in this novel, has many layers. And for those of you who remember the San Clemente syndrome, where you have one layer of the church overlooking another layer. Underneath there's a, what do you call it, a Mithraic temple, which is a pagan temple. You have 3 layers, actually 4. Everything is like that. And I think that ultimately, as Elio says in Call Me By Your Name, we're not made to be played on one instrument alone. We are many, many instruments. And to use the words from the New Testament, we are legion, says the devil to Jesus. If you remember that passage.
Let's talk about the third part, fatherhood. So
okay.
I think the book from the very beginning talks about, Ilio's relationship with his father, Miranda's relationship with her father, Michel and his father, and maybe everybody else, everything in between. Like seeing fathers as humans, fathers casting a long shadow on their children, and there's also a strong reference to a father towards the end of the book. So is fatherhood, or even father figures, do you believe this is the main artery that kind of kept this book moving?
It's one of the arteries. Yes, I think that fatherhood is important. I didn't plan it this way, but as I was writing, I realized that Michel is talking about his father a lot, and it's time for Elio to speak about his father a bit because he doesn't want to feel left out. But then we've seen his father, and we've seen the father in Enigma Variations, and we've seen the father in Call Me By Your Name. And fatherhood is an important because it's a very close bond between two individuals who are normally not perceived as being close. Fathers and sons are usually embattled because the son is supposed to have an Orestes complex. And so I wanted to demolish that myth, or at least show a father figure who is kind, who is all-giving, and at the same time not necessarily sort of a silly man, and also show how the son reveres the father without being blindly respectful. But there's a wonderful moment where I was tempted and then I contained myself. There's a moment in which Elio watches his father with Miranda, and he says, "Gee, Dad, I've never seen you in love like this." Meaning, don't mess it up. But at the same, I was tempted to have Elio give him a speech too. But I said, no, we've had the speech of the father, that you don't need to echo it. But it was a moment where I saw the two getting very close. A father who's being observed by his son as he's in love, as if he were an adolescent, I thought was a lovely moment. And I love moments between fathers and sons because they never happen in literature. And it's not that I went out of my way, it just came naturally.
And most of the time they're dysfunctional.
Yes.
This was an actual, maybe healthy father-son relationship.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know that it's functional, but it worked for me. I mean, there's a moment in Enigma Variations, which I don't want to refer to today, where the father and the son go up on an old demolished castle, and they're overlooking the mainland in Sicily, where the lights are twinkling at night. And the father says, "By the way, you know Beethoven's piece?" He says, "Yes, I know." And so they're talking about it. He says, "By the way, I want you to remember this for the time when." And it doesn't even finish the sentence. The son says, "For the time when, Dad." And of course, the father says, "Yes, exactly, for the time when." In other words, I want to block this moment and make it into a solid memory for you so that when the time comes, you'll remember that we sat here overlooking the mainland, listening or thinking of Beethoven.
So I know many people here in the audience probably have one big question for you.
Okay.
What is the status of the sequel of the movie?
Oh, you know what? I have the same question because the answer, the good answer is, nobody has told me we want to make a sequel. The people who were involved have been very silent, so I have no answer.
I know Luca was talking all about it, like when the movie came
that
out.
was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It was easy then, because and the actor said, "We'll drop everything and we'll do it." But of course, everybody's extremely busy.
Would you like a sequel to the movie?
Of course, I would love a sequel. I'd love to watch this story to understand it better,
Do you know if Army, Timothy, or Luca? I know Michael's read it because he recorded the audiobook for this. Do you know if they read Find Me yet?
They haven't said anything. So basically, silence is also significant. You never know. No, but I know that Michael loved it. At least that's what he told me. But I try not to believe anyone, but he's been wonderful, and he did a fantastic read.
It was beautiful. I did listen to some excerpts of it. My last question before we take questions from the audience, would you write a third book about Ilya and Oliver? Make it a trilogy. Call it the Peach Trilogy. I don't know, but
Do you want me to bring back peaches? Is that what it is?
You opened the door.
No, actually, it's a temptation. It's a little temptation, and I was just discussing it with one of my sons today about maybe there's something there that I'm interested in toying with, but I've got so many other projects, so I don't know yet.
What are you working on now, if you don't mind asking?
Yes, I have a book of essays coming out very shortly about the unlived life, which is a topic that's very germane here. And I have a book on Rome coming out, and I have a book on Audible that's already finished, and so we're doing that because Audible bought it and is going to release it as a spoken word text. And then I'm writing a book about or a novella about a woman who was a Portuguese nun, or alleged Portuguese nun, who was abandoned by a French soldier after he seduced her. And she writes probably the most beautiful complaining letter that has ever been written in the 1600s, and I'm taking it up and modernizing it.
So you've been very generous with your time visiting us 2 years in a row. We decided before we take questions, think of your questions, I would like to call my colleague Sue Vida, she is the chief of the music division, to present you something very special from the Library of Congress's collection.
Actually, not from the collection. We're not giving away the collection.
I mean,
It's a facsimile, I promise.
I wanted the original.
We'll have to check his pockets on the way out. Well, as you heard, part of Elio's story involves a music manuscript, which he comes to discover is a cadenza for Mozart's Piano Concerto number 20 in D minor. And the love that the author has for music is very real and tangible, and of course that's important for us in the music division. So we see Mozart's portrait above his head. He's talked about cadenzas. Mozart's D minor piano concerto is part of Elio's repertoire. Mozart composed the concerto in 1785. He was the piano soloist for the first performance. And on that occasion, he played cadenzas that he had written for the concerto. Subsequently, other people wrote cadenzas for the same concerto, including Beethoven in about 1809. You wonder how anyone could improve on Mozart, but then Beethoven comes along and you say, okay. And then followed by other favorites of yours, including Brahms. And in the early 1890s, the renowned Clara Schumann. Now, Clara, whose 200th birthday is being observed around the world this year, was a true superstar when women were never superstars. She was the first woman to achieve an international reputation as a concert pianist. She was one of the greatest concert pianists of the 19th century. She almost single-handedly redefined the piano recital when the concert stage was almost entirely male-dominated. She was born in 1819, and her career spanned more than 60 years. She was bright, she was talented, and she was loved by not only her husband, Robert Schumann, but also Brahms. The Library of Congress will celebrate her 200th birthday with a concert on December 6th, so you might want to check that out. And while, as we think about gifts that we would give here tonight, we didn't have the Mozart Piano Concerto 20 in D minor, but we do have an original manuscript written by Clara Schumann for her own cadenza for Mozart's Piano Concerto number 20 in D minor. And we're delighted to present it to you tonight. It's a facsimile of the original manuscript, written on paper with a very colorful ivory border. And so we'll give this to you.
So much.
And I want to actually point out something. We only have one page up here, but if you look very carefully down at the very bottom underneath the ivy, you see some lines. Can you see them?
yes, sir.
Okay, so this was like in the days before glue sticks, I guess. The reverse of this page is similar to this. You can see it here, but you see these lines?
Oh, I see.
So she revised this, and she sewed on the revision. And so those lines are the stitches from the revision. So you see, this is a paste on in the
Yes. Oh my gosh.
and these are the so it's kind of
How wonderful.
interesting and special.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. It's wonderful. I'm so honored, really. Thank you. Wow. It's so, yeah, you can
Put it right here. Right. All right. Thank you, Sue. We are ready for some questions here.
Oh, now I can see everybody.
Yes. So just raise your hand and we'll have somebody with a microphone come to you. I'll let you. We'll go to this young lady over here.
Hi, thank you so much for coming today. My name's Jessica. I already read Find Me because I get obsessive and it was wonderful. I really appreciated the voice that you gave Samuel, and I found the contrasting voices of Elio in Love and Samuel in Love to be so wonderful and contrasting, and I was curious to hear how easy it was to write in these two different voices, because Elio's Love is so young and passionate and goes lines and lines and lines before there's a period, while I felt that Samuel's felt more measured and reflective. So I was wondering if both voices were easy to write, which came more naturally to you?
Every chapter or every part of a book asks to be written in the voice you end up writing it. It's ironic that Call Me By Your Name is written in one voice, and Eight White Nights is written, another book of mine, which nobody reads, but it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. I understand why, too. But it's also written in one, but Enigma Variations is written in many, many voices. And I think that authors don't want to have one voice. We want to have as many voices, as many characters that take over the voice of the actual narration. It's something that I find very necessary, and you learn it from two great writers. One is Joyce, who never wrote in the same voice ever, and the other one is Dante, who made a point of constantly changing the voice. So the style is always different, depending on who's speaking. And I wanted that. I wanted, in fact, yes, there's something very even tempered in Elio's father's voice, whereas Elio is far more rhapsodic, almost gushing. And I like that. And if you look at the parts of Oliver, they're halting. He's hurting, basically. And so he writes sometimes in little fragments. So it's not something you do intentionally all the time, though you try to keep the voice right for the character, but it comes naturally depending on who it is. But it has to be in the first person. Otherwise, I'm lost.
I have two questions. One, I had seen the movie before I read your book.
Where are you?
Over here.
Oh, okay.
I was terribly moved by the Capriccio. First, the guitar and the tree that Elio was strumming. It sort of rang a bell. Of course, it appeared in many forms later on. What in your background was this your idea to introduce the transcriptions of that particular piece of music, Bach's Capriccio?
Yes.
And its relevance, you had mentioned teasing Oliver
Yes.
in your book. Do you have a musical background?
No, none whatsoever. I'm just totally passive. I listen. That's all I do. But I'm interested in what I listen in. And I was very interested. If you notice, I don't mean to do this, but everything in Call Me By Your Name and parts of Find Me are written in 4 parts. Everything is in 4s. This is something that you write a paper on. Forget it. But I was interested in the guitar piece. Then there's a piano transcription or a piano version of the same piece. And then there's a Busoni variation on the Bach piece. And then there's a Liszt variation on the Bach piece. So you have, again, 4 different variations of the same piece. And, of course, Elio teases Oliver with the piece because he asks him to play it the way he had played it the first time. And eventually he does. And it's his way of speaking to Oliver and saying, this music is for you. it's for you. It's my gift to you.
Hi, so I had a question that relates to another novel of yours, Harvard Square. So that novel explores a platonic male relationship at its core, and then Call Me By Your Name is a romantic male relationship. And I was just curious as to why exploring the intimacy between two male relationships, one romantic and one platonic, but I just wanted to ask about why that exploring that intimacy was a theme that like appeared in a motif that was explored in two novels.
Well, the one between Elio and Oliver is, it's an intimate relationship, and it's, as you say, it's romantic. It's about intimacy between two men, and it goes very far to show you what it is that they feel for each other. The other one is more about something that you can call friendship, or the word in French is far more sort of precise. It's complicité. It's a spirit of complicity between two men. In other words, they have something in common, and they understand each other, and they watch each other. They're just very good friends, for a while at least. It's just friendship pushed to the ultimate form, where you have the two who could basically, if one had killed someone, the other one would come to help him dispose of the body. There's that kind of complicity between the two. And I loved that idea, and I was exploring it without any sort of the foggiest notion that there was anything sexual between them.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your words. You're a masterful writer. I wanted to know about your process writing the sequel, Find Me. Did you feel that it was difficult coming back to these characters after, writing Call Me By Your Name so long ago? And did you feel that the writing process for Find Me was affected by sort of the worldwide expectation now that so many people have because of the success of the movie?
Actually, no, because I couldn't write it if I was sort of influenced, or because people sort of kept beckoning me, like, please write something from Oliver's perspective. Please continue. Tell us what happened afterwards. We want to know. There was a lot of call, and the fan fiction that sort of was erupting all over the place. And I just can't write this way, because even with a film that is so successful, I couldn't continue what the movie sort of left, where the movie left off. So I just went back into my little hovel and wrote about the father, which was the easiest way for me to get away from all the noise that was going on. And it worked for me. It was not difficult. I liked rediscovering the characters at a later age, when I was older, when they were older, and I liked that I wasn't continuing with an Elio who was sort of now 20. I wouldn't know what to do with an Elio at 20 and without Oliver around him, because the whole story of Call Me By Your Name is Elio longing to be with Oliver. And so I couldn't continue that. It was done already. So I'm glad that time went by. It wasn't difficult to write at all. It was actually, once I decided who the father was going to visit, it became easy.
I just recently read both of these books, Find Me and Call Me By Your Name. I wanted to ask you if there was anything very personal, anything within you that you put into these books that, is there anything in these books that you have a connection with, that happened to you, or just something that you resonate with very well?
A lot of, for example, the character of Elio is me. There's no question. I am diffident. I blush very easily. I don't speak. You would think, you won't believe me, I don't speak much when I have dinner guests. I'm the one who doesn't speak. Do you want me to get you more food? I get off the table and just sort of to avoid having the silence sit around me. I'm insecure, I'm diffident, I'm easily sort of flummoxed. So that's me. But the story, the plot line itself is not necessarily, I borrow things from my life, and there is definitely a wall somewhere in the world. When I go there, I sit in front of the wall, and I don't sit, I stand, and I'm almost there. Now you're talking about many years ago. And yes, that person still exists, and I'm grateful that this person is not dead. But at the same time, I'm sort of going back into the past, and of course, part of me feels a great deal of regret. And so, yes, I borrow from myself, and I borrow from a lot of what my friends tell me, because sometimes they give me a story that's so wonderful, I have to use it, and so on. But it's me, and yet, if you look at the furniture in the room, you'll say, I don't recognize any of the furniture. It's just that I've moved everything around significantly to the point where you won't even recognize what really happened and didn't. Ironically, once I write something, it becomes real. And so sometimes it's as if I've had the experience, which I never had.
I feel like people are living the book. I mean, people are going to Italy, doing the tour of where Call Me By Your Name was set. The peach industry should be thanking you, honestly. But what are the craziest responses have you been getting from readers?
Oh, I get all kinds of responses. They're wonderful responses because it tells me that the book has an effect on people's lives to the point where people will tell me, I came out to my parents thanks to your book. It gave me the courage. And there are parents who say, thanks to your book, I was able to address this about my children or whatever. But there is also people who are sort of significantly older than me, who write to me and say, you know what, I had this, and then it disappeared because my partner died or whatever, and I miss it. Or there are people who say, I've never had this, and now it's too late. And so I get the whole gamut of people, and it's some of it is sad, and a lot of it is joyful, which is lovely. And some people say, you've given us the template for the kind of love I want in my life. So I guess I'm useful. The St. Valentine's Day should also be grateful.
We have time probably for 2 more questions. Gentleman right here.
Thanks for stopping by. The book ends a certain way, specifically in part 4. I won't go any more than that. But did you have a sense of, did you know that from the beginning of how that was going to end, or was it a journey for you as you're writing?
I never know where I'm going with a story. I have no idea. I'm not the kind of writer who knows. It would be much better if I did know, because then the job would be done faster. No, I always struggled. I was writing about a chapter in Rome, which I love, in Paris, which I love, in New York, which I love. And then I said, wait a second, you're leaving out the most important city of your life. Why don't you go there? And so I did. It's the city where I was born, which is Alexandria in Egypt, and I wanted the part to be spent there. And for me, it was writing about Egypt. Again, it goes back to what I said before. When you write something, you're back there. You're there. And for me, it was important because it was a way of coming home. And I leave you to guess what coming home also can mean. Make sense?
Good job without giving it away, though.
Oh, it's so tempting.
We'll do 1 more question.
You use music so wonderfully in your works to evoke...
I'm sorry, say that again.
You use music so wonderfully to evoke sensuality and emotion in your writings, and I was wondering if you could leave us maybe with one piece that has that sort of emotional significance in your life that's really evoked that sensuality for you.
The name of the piece?
We have a piano out here that we could pull out if you want to.
If I had to say, I would say it is a piece that I automatically found again in Band of Brothers. For those of you who know, it's a part of the Beethoven Quartet in C-sharp minor, 131, I think, number 14. And it's a very short piece. It only lasts about 2.5 minutes. But it's an amazing piece of music. And if you can't find it, look at Band of Brothers, you'll find it. Because that part always comes up.
Andre, we want to thank you.
Oh,
welcome back to the Library of Congress. We hope to see you back when you write the 3rd part or your next book.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Roosevelt, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.